Singapore isn't building a port. Singapore is building new land because the sea is the only place where Singapore can still grow. And that's why Singapore is moving its coastline, meter by meter, out into the sea. $20 billion, years of engineering, millions of tons of material. But before the first container arrives, before the first crane goes to work, before the first ship can dock, the sea itself must become land. Before the first foundation, the ground itself has to be built. The entire site is surveyed. Point by point, line by line. Now, the drainage begins. Rig by rig, thousands of vertical drains. Meter by meter, row by row, until the entire site is covered. But the water remains. Now, the sand arrives. Truck by truck, millions of tons of material. Layer by layer, bulldozer by bulldozer. The pressure builds. Still, it's not enough. Now, the vacuum pumps take over. Pipe by pipe, line by line, day and night. The water is pulled from the ground, millimeter by millimeter. The ground begins to settle. For the first time, solid ground emerges, but the job isn't finished. Only now does the compaction begin. Roller by roller, across every section, again and again, until nothing moves. Now, the measurements decide. Sensor by sensor, reading by reading. The first construction zone is approved, then the next, and the next, until the entire site is ready for its foundations. The ground is ready. Now, the real test begins. The quay wall isn't built at sea. Instead, it's built on land. Gigantic hollow concrete structures, each weighing 15,000 tons. And yet, every one of them floats, like a ship. Now, the tugboats take over. Slowly, the giants leave the dry dock. Their destination, an invisible foundation, hidden beneath the surface. There, every caisson has only one place. Now, the flood valves open. Seawater rushes into the chambers. Slowly, the giant loses buoyancy. A floating structure becomes a foundation. Wind pushes, waves crash, the current pulls. The tugboats hold it steady, inch by inch. The caisson descends. Now, there's no turning back. Then, first contact. 15,000 tons, resting on the seabed. But the job isn't over. Now, the hollow chambers are filled, ton by ton. floating giant becomes a solid quay wall. The first caisson is in place, then another and another. Caisson by caisson. Singapore's new coastline takes shape until hundreds of giants form one of the world's largest container ports. The quay wall is complete. But a port is more than concrete. Now, the unseen work begins. Miles of power cables spread across the terminal. Substation by substation comes online. Control cabinet by control cabinet powers up. Then the data, fiber by fiber. Connects every terminal, connection by connection. A single network takes shape. Server by server, comes online second by second. The data centers come alive, then positioning. Antenna by antenna. A private wireless network expands. Reference station by reference station. Maps the entire terminal. Every inch is precisely mapped. Then, the sensors. Sensor by sensor is calibrated. Camera by camera is aligned. Laser by laser scans every lane. Scanner by scanner tracks every container. Then, the infrastructure. Charging station by charging station. Lines the transport routes. Intersection by intersection is connected to the network. Gate by gate comes online. Every system finds its place. Then, the cranes. One crane after another joins the network. Every motor, every gearbox, every brake is tested. Only then, the full system test. Power. Data. Sensors. Cranes, roadways. Control center. Everything works together. No longer individual structures. Now, one system. Now, The port is ready for its very first container. Just a few years ago, this was open sea. Today, this is now Singapore's new coastline. Because Singapore isn't building a port. Singapore is building new land.